hot nerds? Welcome back to another exciting episode and recap of Power Book 4 Force. I'm your host again, Hot Nerd D, and today we have the ever so brilliant Hot Nerd Sid joining us. So, yes, say hello, Sid.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here in Neri's world of power. So, yes, let's go, Hot Nerdy. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. But before we start, you guys know what to do, which is like, comment, and subscribe. But yes, let's dive in. We're first going to start with the episode's recap. So, to kick things off, the show opens up with us identifying Walter Flynn's body by Claudia. She starts off crying, but then takes a pause to make her last remarks to her dad, which included, "I just wanted you to accept me." Her
Mm.
troubles further in the episode, starting with her father not leaving her anything in the will, but leaving it all to Vic instead, and even Vic pulling the remaining Flynn security from her as revenge for trying to kill him in the last episode. She seeks safety and security from the Serbs and then attempts to team up with Jenard, which ends up going unsuccessful. So we shall see the rest of the trajectory going on for Claudia. But in continuation, Vic is now at the mercy of the federal agents to take down his sister and his connections. He embeds himself into the CBI organization, making a deal with Tommy and Diamond to go 50-50 for access to resources for territory. However, this encroaches on the Serbs' territory that puts them at odds with CBI. Towards the end of the episode, we see the Serbs make a huge move. So I know we'll talk about that scene, which includes burning down homes and shooting at CBI members, which furthers their tensions. Tommy continues to see Maria, even though he is not supposed to. While they are out together, she gets a text from Dr. Murray informing her that he was in the hospital due to her brother. And as her own revenge, she didn't give her brother insulin, which is part of her main kind of point or storyline like within the show because she is a nurse. So that also puts her at odds with her family. Jenard is also joined into CBI this episode. Diamond does catch him passed out, which then kind of gave him a full glimpse of the extent of his conditions and what he's really in. However, Diamond and Tommy agree to still work with him because if they agree to take them in, Shanti will also be on board, which we have seen her character kind of become a reoccurring and give them access to her territories. So, but however, Shanti and Jenard will really Shanti have a plan to build up CBI and then take it all for once. So we shall see again, in the future episodes what that would come about. But I want to stop there and then ask you now, what was your favorite part or what stood out to you?
Yeah, I think that my favorite part of the episode, there was a point in time like where they like Claudia and was it Shanti like went to the strip club?
It was her and her friends, Claudia and her friend.
So it was
Mhm.
just Claudia and her friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that like Claudia as a arc in this entire season, as far as her like accepting herself, but also bouncing back and in the wake of her dad's death, like just even seeing her go back and take that time to herself was one of my favorite moments. But also just seeing her assert like just throughout the episode, her like she's not gonna go like back down because Vic is trying his little games when it comes to trying to take his father's position, trying to fill his shoes. Like Claudia has her own shoes that she's going to be filling, and we already see that even in this episode with the deals that she's looking to make. But yeah, I just think like the strip club scene was so fun. So that was, I know it's like a very little one, but that was my favorite moment, and it just represented to me that she's has the ability to bounce back even in the wake of her father's death.
Yes, for sure. Like Claudia, this has definitely been a reoccurring theme, that Claudia definitely continues episode after episode having to beat the odds. It was like seeing that scene, that opening scene, like when she was talking to her father, just wanting acceptance, but just at the same time, after even leaving that moment, just furthering like their tensions by, again, leaving her out of the will. Vic,
Yeah.
being able to pull her security from her. It's like, she never got a break from any male like in this show. Like
Oh,
she always like, constantly has to work 10 times harder to, not even get half half the resources or half the access, that her father did and now even her brother does. And but like you bring up a good point that she's definitely resilient. And even though I was even starting the episode, at least to me, was painting that picture, that this was going to be like the downfall of Claudia. Like,
right.
how is she going to, bounce back, or how is she going to pull herself out? And it's like, once again, she's, constantly still thinking, still, still strategizing, still trying to, progress and try to move things forward, with the hand that she's been dealt with. And it's like, I can't necessarily say that for every character in this show. Like if they were hit with so many, bombs like time after time after time again, how would they really be able to kind of bounce back and really like push forward through that? So
I don't
yes.
think so.
Once again, you never know what Claudia's gonna do, or what scheme she has, or like, what plans. So I am still rooted for you, Claudia. I
Ooh, and
am still rooted for you.
I love it, and even just, like, you even talking about it and even seeing that whole conversation about the will, like, that's just definitely something that is even resident in life right now, like, my family right now is going through that sort of, dynamic in the sense of having to execute a will. It's interesting to me to even see how it works, like, on the drug deal side, like, it's, like, just on that as a layer versus, like, how it works in
Only things legal go in the will.
know? But then you can see though that a part of that will is the security in a sense, is who's gonna be the leader and has like that play like Vic does to be able to take something like that from Claudia. It's just interesting how when generations pass and when things go unresolved, like even though, she is she was I don't think she was ever looking to really like, in that moment resolve with her father, but the fact that like, is now what she has to deal with as a it was always gonna be this way. Like,
Yeah,
he treated her like crap before he died, and in the aftermath of his death, that's how it's going to result for her too, and so, I just
yeah.
think it's super important. Like, demonstrates how much like it's important to either work those things out in life or just make sure that you're protected
Mhm.
if you can be, you know, by the time that next generation does pass. So that see, thank you for bringing that up again too, because that scene especially was very resonant. Other than like the eye rolls that Vic was giving, So yeah,
No, yes, for sure. You definitely bring up a good point too, and just aftermath, because that also makes me think of the scene when the Serbs came and basically just destroyed that entire community. Like
yes,
that was heavy. That was heavy to watch because it wasn't even, towards just CBI members, or, like
oh,
making it seem as though it's just between like enemy lines, like innocent people literally trying to run into their homes, run for cover, like just trying to miss, just stray bullets that are flying at any and whoever, it hits. And oh my gosh, that was just so devastating to see.
good,
'Cause it reminds me of like earlier in the season when a younger girl who what
yeah,
like once again was like caught in the crossfire of like a similar situation. It just like in this context it kind of showed us just how much things are progressing. Now it's not just going to be one innocent person, it's going to be multiple. And it's like he even warned him like after that was done, the Serb we're saying like this can continue on, like this can get worse.
mhm,
So Oh, no, it
Cold-blooded.
was just so jarring to see because it's like you can, I think the show is painting that picture like we can see the progression of our consequences. Like we can see, exactly like where things are going and, and how far they can go and, how worse it could truly get. So, in a
Yeah.
way, it's like, what else is going to come out of like how worse can it get? And that's like, my fear or like what I'm scared of to even see like in this episode. So or not even just in this episode, but just further on in the season because that
Yeah.
was a heavy threat. And it's like obviously, Tommy doesn't back down, to threats
No.
either. So it's like to match that or to like what heights are you gonna go to really see this come to an end? And what does a peaceful end at this point or like really look like? Or how can they really reconcile
Yeah.
what, just kind of transpired?
I wonder how they're going to, like, talk about that because, yeah, it just feels like this is very resonant for that sort of lifestyle in general. Like, one, definitely wanna double tap into what you just said about just the innocent lives that are, like, always being wrapped up into this, both from a main character perspective and just from the surrounding community, of the Crimson Projects, and, like, that, just simply living there and living amongst this sort of gang territory. You get wrapped up in it without even really asking to be. And, you know, just having known people that live that sort of lifestyle, a lot of times, like, they'll say, oh, we'll never hurt women and children. But it's like that still happens regardless whether you like to or not. And obviously, this was very intentional. Like the Serbs were sending a very intentional message. They had been trying to control that area throughout the season. And it's like they weren't, I think it was just kind of like, well, if I can't have it, I'm gonna burn it down, like like it's just if I can't have it, nobody can. It's like, well, there's nothing left to do. And at a certain point in time, to your point, if you burn everything, if you kill everybody, what is going to really happen at that point?
Right.
I wonder if they're ever going to explore the theme within Power as a whole, but even here, like of forgiveness as a way of moving forward and as a way of winning in a sense. I don't know.
Mm. No, you definitely bring up a point. And I know that that has also come up in previous recaps. Like,
Yeah.
what is real reconciliation like in this kind of environment? And like, is peace really realistic, at this point? Or is it like pockets of peace, moments of peace, but just surrounded necessarily more so by war, more so by chaos, and like having to pick apart when you're gonna, follow your joy, like or hold on to your joy or hold on to those happy moments. And so it's I don't know. I truly, don't know. And I think even like what this show is trying to explain is that, when you're in this environment or when you're in this situation, I don't even think they may know, what's and so you kind of just have to live literally day by day, moment by moment, like and trying to figure out in that way, but trying to do things in like a larger context or in a more even future state, like
Yeah.
when the future is so kind of volatile or just so unpredictable, like
Yeah.
you almost don't even have that luxury to kind of think in that far regard. Like it's
Yeah.
either it's really truly tonight and to, like these are the things I can only focus on. And now that I just saw this, now now I have to think about in terms of a response.
Yeah.
And who knows necessarily if the response is going to be peace, but, just knowing the history of our characters and knowing how this show goes, or specifically Tommy, like that is not something where he particularly, like, historically would choose peace.
Right.
This
No,
is
no. And that's what I was gonna say. I don't think Tommy's the right symbol for that.
it's not. So maybe like where we'll see that is possibly coming from Diamond.
I no Diamond. Yes.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah.
Diamond
Diamond
is
deserves flowers. Yeah.
Yeah, so Diamond's going to be the one, or he kind of represents within this show, like
You're
the
so right.
peacemaker, or the one that is more diplomatic or diabolical, like with his approach to how he wants to handle situations. Like he isn't necessarily always going for the most violent means, but it's like if it's necessary, that is. And so I even to this point, it's like I wonder if he might find, escalating or even going to war as necessary just because of the heights and the stakes of what, that catastrophic event, kind of unleashed, for
Absolutely.
him. So I definitely think, rationale will definitely be tested and what is truly going to come of that. But
Quick question for you. Is Diamond from those projects?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Wow. So
yeah.
that's personal. Yeah.
Him, and his brother, are from that area. So once again, this is like Tommy kind of infiltrating like a newer area, at least to him, because he does have roots there. He does have his brother and his nephew,
Right.
but as we know, like even from the original Power series, that his or like where he has roots and like where what he knows for sure is going to be New York. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no.
yeah,
Thank you for that.
yes.
It's yeah, I think Diamond is going to be that symbol for peace. But I very much wonder since this is like his home, like if that's even an option for him. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Right, right, right. Ooh, so to even because you hit on actually one of the themes, or just talking about themes in general, something that was prominent to me that I wanted to unpack from this episode was the concept of greed.
Yes.
Um, and how I think it's being framed in this show and in particularly this episode as expansion or, trying to grow the business. But I think there are some underlying tones of greed and just wanting more almost for the sake of more. So,
Yeah.
what would you say is your idea in that aspect?
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting because Vic does approach Tommy, right, with trying to do some sort of split
Yeah.
a deal to work with CBI. And but he's also like it's like he's trying to get it from both ways, right? He's still assisting the feds in taking down Tommy and Claudia while still trying to make this deal with him. I think that Vic to me, I mean, there's a couple of them. Vic and Jenard, I will say. Jenard's another that just represents selfishness, like just in so many different ways. But I know that's a little bit different than just slightly though from greed and
Mhm.
Vic. Like I just think that like he's just trying to have it both ways on both coins. Like
Mm,
both would try to get stuff from Tommy and try to make his way with the feds. I can't tell if that's like him just trying to play his cards right or him just not being able to make like a true decision in a strategic way. So that was one moment that really popped out to me from a greedy perspective. And then yeah, like when it comes to Jannard, he talks about like he's also in this kind of flip floppy mode too when it talks about like returning to CBI and like wanting to like reconcile with Diamond, like and wanting to like say that he's going to be clean, but it's like again, like it's like wanting to eat your cake and sorry, have your cake and eat it too, like sort of mentality where it's like you want to be this sort of great person, but you're not willing to put in the work to actually do so. And we see like how his partnership with Shanti is not necessarily going to allow for all of that to happen. Like she can really she has a lot of pull in that regard.
yeah.
And even for her, like, everybody's trying to play their game. Like everybody is trying to
Mm,
play their game. And I do agree with you that at a certain point in time, people aren't willing to stop at what is like the point of diminishing returns. They want what's
mm.
going to be theirs just for the sake of being able to like be like, ha, yeah, I it's like a dominance thing. Like, just wanting to sit over somebody. But what are your thoughts? Like where'd you see greed pop up?
No, you like hit the nail on the head. And that's interesting that you bring up Vic in this context because when I was viewing the episode, I did see it more as like, oh, he is trying to play his cards right,
Okay.
so that
Okay.
he can do his main goal of, taking down his sister and finally
Right.
avenging Gloria. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like, who knows, like, throughout this process, if he really is going to, enjoy some of these things that he's now getting, like
Yeah.
even the and now, you know now that his father's gone, like in a way, like he did like what his like main goal was to
Yeah.
do, which was to avenge Gloria by killing his father. But now that he's dead, it's like I don't even know if he's really fulfilled. You know, like he still like was in the episode, like kind of just questioning in a way, like what's next or what things would be. And in a way, like he doesn't necessarily know a life outside of this. And so I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily sure he's thought truly that far of what life like in a different environment or a different context really looks like. And so, the more that he does get roped up into this and the more he kind of has to play along, like who knows like if that truly will shift and like he'll, try to really again try to infiltrate himself back in and like really want to continue on in this environment. Another good point or way that I saw greed was definitely like within the Serbs too, because
Oh my gosh,
he
yes.
did introduce the idea like, well, okay, like if you're doing pills and I'm doing powder, this, I'm not necessarily stepping on your toes. I'm not
Right.
encroaching on your market. I'm not even really, touching your customer base. And he's just more on the principle of like, no, this is mine and I don't want you, to be a part of that. And he's just like, well, if we're thinking of this in a business context,
Yeah.
like it could be even, like this doesn't necessarily affect yours. Like I'm not taking resources or money from you. I'm just where this is just another market where this is another or this is another area where this could be successful. And so I definitely think, just in terms of pride and just in terms of like ownership, like the Serbs are just taking this in principle and, just being greedy in that aspect, how I perceive it. Like I can't even fathom the idea of someone else, even remotely kind of getting the same amount of resources or having the same access that I do to, the amount of money or power, things of that nature. And so, like you said, it's definitely a power struggle or a power dynamic that is mixed up into that, which, kind of furthers that need to have to either control everything
Oh
or,
yeah.
almost feel in lack when that isn't necessarily the case, even in that regard.
Mm.
Because then you also bring up a good point too, just about Shanti and how she is such a big influence on Jenard, and how, at first it looked like, okay, I am gonna kind of just fall in line. I will, I'll come back to CBI. I'll be good. But just as soon as he hears just a little inkling of, but you can have more, but it could be,
Right.
you could have it all. Actually, it's just, just takes all the rationale, takes all of, the thoughts and things that he kind of got to that position too. Like it just all kind of just goes out of the window. And once again, he's driven by greed. Like he's
Oh yeah.
driven by the idea that wow, like okay, this is already good enough. Like, I'm out of trouble with certain people. I am, I'm not struggling for resources. I am not, at odds with like people that are supposed to be working for me. I almost got a clean slate. But now that on top of that clean slate, I can have everything. It's like woo, just the bells are ringing now for
Oh
Jenard.
yeah.
And once again, it's just gonna put him right back in the cycle that he's, that got himself in that position in the first place, being kicked out, having to start a new group, seeing it fail, and then, having to come back and, apologize and be, apologetic in terms of being rejoined back into the group. And so it's like he's just running himself like in just a dangerous cycle and just one that's driven by greed. Even if he has enough, like even if he has the things that he wants, it's just when something more is presented to him, it just kind of takes his thoughts elsewhere beyond what, was already probably working and probably already in place. So
Yeah.
what do you think about Jenard's trajectory, or even Jenard working with Shanti? Like, do
Yeah.
you see them, teaming up and being able to take over, or do you think both of their greeds combined is going to, put them in a tough spot?
Yeah, it just adds unpredictability. I think that like just even zooming out again to your point about greed, I gotta put my little womanist cap on in the sense of just looking at no matter who it is, and including in this context with Jenard and Shanti, if you are constantly working off of greed, this hierarchical greed, which is even just a what is it called? A result of a patriarchal system that's always saying that somebody has to be ahead of somebody else. Like,
Mhm.
if that's the case, then even if Shanti's putting up the position like, oh, this is how you can get ahead of such and such and so, like eventually I hope Jannard sees like, well, Shanti's gonna want to be the head of you, like if that's the dynamic that she's presenting, or just anybody, like even when it comes to the Serbs, like you were just talking about, like if you're not willing to work with somebody,
Mhm.
just best believe that they can probably go and work with somebody else and take you out too.
Yep,
Like it's not there's all if you're gonna play this sort of get in front of somebody
yep,
game, just know there's always gonna be somebody more powerful than you in that sort of game
yep,
versus, of course, a more fib structure, is a lot more flat, a lot more horizontal, which I feel like is what Tommy was trying to come to him with. Like, we can both do this, we can both be on top. And we've seen this sort of dynamic in other power episodes. And like, somebody, it's always somebody. I don't even want to say it's the men, but it's always somebody with super duper toxic masculine traits that's just like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do think Shanti is not going to work out just simply because like she's a woman. That doesn't mean it's going to work out. Like I think she has developed, some of those toxic traits that it's like dangling those things like that a patriarchal society would dangle, including that symbol of greed, to try to like woo Jannard back into
yep.
this toxic cycle. That's just I don't he if he just sticks close to Diamond, I feel like that's gonna be his best bet versus going with somebody who is just trying to use him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I definitely think she is using this moment where he is in a bit more of a vulnerable state to definitely kind of swoop in and use this to her advantage to really, plant the seeds in a way that could have always been there for her. But now, she's kind of just seizing the opportunity. But I really like that point in terms of like if you are going to play that game of I have to be first or I have to be ahead, there's always going to be someone that also wants to be first, that also wants to be ahead. So it's not going to end. You are always going to then be playing that game, and it truly won't stop until you get taken out or till you get taken out of position. And it's like, does it take all of that in a way? Because it's truly a all or nothing kind of perspective or all or nothing case. And what is wrong with the middle, or what is wrong with some, or what is wrong in a way with enough, like, and I think without really measuring or knowing what enough is, it'll always kind of feel like lack, or if there's always more to be had, like it's always going to feel like I have to kind of keep going and like keep um moving in a way in a circle. You're not even moving straight. You're moving in a circle and not even know you're coming like right back, to your starting point. And so is it really, productive?
No.
Not sure. Because then it makes me think, even in Tommy's case, it's like
Oh yeah.
as soon as they knew that Walter was dead, they pulled out the map and said, okay, this, we're gonna take this, that, and the third. And even
Yeah.
that made me take a step back. It's like, wow, like your business is already practically booming. Like like CBI this whole
Where?
entire season has not been in the position where they've been in lack. Actually, like they've always been in a position where they had more in a way than enough. But you know, once again, wanting more, and now just because the opportunity is there, just because it's an option, now I have to take it. And that then in turn is now why they're stepping on the Serbs toes, and it's just once again creating issues where maybe if they took a step back and reevaluated if this is truly necessary or what is really needed, then some of those things could have been avoided. But once again, this has been on Tommy's brain since episode 1. How am I going to
Oh
expand?
yeah.
How am I
Yeah.
going to gain
Yeah.
control? How am I going to have it all? And
Yeah.
so
How am I gonna be king? Yeah, no, it's
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like I wanna from a it's hard because it's like you're dealing with lives, you're dealing with I mean, this is the drug game, so it's already gonna be a painful situation. But from a business standpoint, like it's like, okay, it's how you're supposed to be thinking. But I think if we just take the step back and say, like, even from a business standpoint, like if you're immediately going to capitalize off of like someone's death, like, and be like, oh, well, I can take all their customers now. Like it's like, yeah, I mean, that exact same thing can be done right to you, it's just, "Oh, Tommy." Yeah.
I know. I mean, Tommy loves the danger though. Like he lives for this. Like this is his life. And so is he scared? I'm not
No.
sure. Does he care? I'm not even sure. But it's like just just taking the step back, just once again and just truly thinking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see, different outcomes from these things, but just once again knowing their nature, it's just not, not options that seem to be, at the top of the priority list. It's
Yeah,
either gain more or revenge. I
right.
don't see anything in between that part.
This is
Uh,
the world we live in, yeah.
right. Just even now going into our character analysis,
Sure.
this is how greed definitely ties into very easily ownership or, needing to have things or needing to kind of possess things. How would you describe the characters in the context of ownership in this episode? Because I think, in one hand, the Serbs and even Shanti um, are viewing Tommy as a pirate or somebody who's stealing from them. And so they're, acting out of, once again, like I was saying earlier, like serves out of principle or just out of this is mine. And that's why, I don't want you to have it, or that's why I don't want to even share it. Or in the other sense, Maria in her family, how she feels owned and like she feels possessed by them and doesn't know necessarily how to break free from that kind of paradigm within her family. So how would you describe the characters and the context of ownership, or how you even view ownership like within this episode?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll start with like the first dynamic you brought up in terms of Tommy being this sort of pirate. Like I can get why, people from that were born and raised in that community are kind of like you, even though you have roots, you're kind of like the new guy on the block. So it's like I could get why they feel some sort of way about it. Outside of the fact it's like it's not like y'all are trying to do it like you're looking at him for some altruistic reason. You just feel like you're owed it because you
Hmm.
have it. But it's like if Tommy's able, like I mean, yeah, I think Tommy as a pirate is such a great example because when I think of pirates, I think about them having the wherewithal to be able to come in and take over a spot that they don't even a ship or a land that they don't even have that much context on. And it's like if we're talking about this game, like then step your cookies up. Like then if
Hmm.
you're going for that patriarchal, greedy sort of mentality, then I'm gonna need you to come with like, that sort of heat. I mean the Serbs did. The Serbs came with that heat. They came
They
with the
said
literal
hurt
heat,
you.
hurt you, burned down. So, it's that and Shotzi's taking her control in little ways that she can, but it's like, if Tommy is able to take control, then that says a lot more about how much you actually really did have control over this space. So in sort of ownership in that regard with Tommy, of course he's the main character. Chris, I love him. So it's like, yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, Tommy, go for it. Go own them. And that's gonna be that. Now, when we talk about, I'm gonna mess her name up. Can you say one more time?
Marie.
Mariah, because I'm gonna call her this girl Mariah. Mariah, Mariah. I have a lot of thoughts on. Can I get on my soapbox real quick? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Go for it.
'Cause I felt this way, like, even just getting prepared for this season and, like, understanding what her character is, and we didn't even talk about, like, Holly's ghost at the very end, like, and how that's come up. I just thought that I'm so glad about this episode specifically because when it comes to Maria, have you ever heard of like the woman in the refrigerator trope?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so like the woman in the refrigerator trope is one of those where it talks about like it's a term coined to describe like a storytelling device where female characters are often subjected to like harm, suffering, or death primarily to advance the character development of a male protagonist. And honestly, this is something, and I check me if I'm wrong, this is something that I see often in the power universe, whether it's like little girls or, you know, wives or girlfriends or whatever. And to see Tommy have this new love interest, I was like, oh boy, when
Yeah.
is it going to come up that she's being used in some way to help push his arc along, you know? But I mean, she does have her own business with her family and everything. I mean, that whole scene with her brother with the insulin, I was like, oh my god, like that was a way to insert your own agency, you know, and she's not just being like controlled by the men in her life. But I do think that in the same way Holly and Holly came to literally gave that message to Tommy the same way Holly met her untimely demise because of Tommy, because of Ghost and the original series. I do
Mhm,
see that Maria could have a very similar fate. And like, you
mhm.
know, I just think that like it's I hope that you know she can continue to stand up for herself, but like with her associations with Tommy and Tommy not even supposed to be with her, I just think that
Mhm.
it's just very selfish of Tommy and very like I don't know. It's not hubris, but I think it is called hubris, where it's like you think that you're so big and bad that you're not going to get this woman killed when you've seen
Yeah.
how many other times that has actually happened for you. Like, yeah, I don't think that in the concept of ownership, I don't think that Maria like owns her own story. I think she's
Mhm.
very much a plot device for Tommy's character growth, and like even him telling her that he loved her, like professing some sort of love. It's like, ooh, this just put your death count just went up in my probability just went up in my regard because I feel like she's gonna be taken from him to prove a point, you know?
Yes, yes. I mean, that is definitely a common theme, just even specifically with Tommy, like, his love interests truly don't last. And it's like you said, like, either they're there in a way to kind of push his agenda or his storyline kind of forward, or they become an inconvenience to him, or they hinder his progression or his way of going forward, and then now therefore have to be eliminated. Like, she has brought up several times, like in this season, like, why are we doing this? This is not a good idea, because solely for the fact that anyone that deals with my brother dies. And
Ugh,
so I don't necessarily want to put you in that position, because I am starting to develop these kind of feelings for you. Do care about you now, and you know doing so, and then now, even if this were to become more public and my brother were to find out, he's going to do to you, and probably a worse regard, what he did to Dr. Murray. um in the previous episode,
yeah,
crushing his hands. And
oh my god,
so
yeah.
it's in a way just, again, like, speaking to the environment and speaking to the level that Tommy is at, like, because Tommy, like, once again, since you want to be the leader, or like, you want to have all this power and control, it's obviously puts more attention on you, so you can't
Oh yeah.
just fly under the radar, and in a way, have your cake and eat it too. Going
Yeah.
back to the
Greedy,
concept of
greedy.
greed, it's like you do have to be accountable and responsible for your for your role in how, especially like your love interest, and how their kind of story plays out. It's so it was so important to see Holly come back in this episode, which was huge, because it's just a reminder that you know you want love, and like, you want peace, and you want all of these things that just do not are not byproducts of the kind of environment or the business that you're in. So in a way, you will have to choose. And I found it so interesting that when he was sitting on his bed, um,
Mhm.
thinking about that, how his focus still turned towards the maps at the end,
Oh, yes.
looked at. So,
Thank
that's
you for
where
that.
he's shown, like, in a way, like that was showing us like where his intentions truly lie, and
Yeah,
like what his true focus is. And like you said, but the love interests, people that get close to them, they get strung along, until they can't, until it does become a problem. And now, once again, because his main focus and his main priority is his business, has to do in a way what's best for the business, or what's best for um that in that context. And so I fear, in a way, but now, like, this is almost the first like person he's dealing with who, in a way, they're in a position of power over him, because since her brother
yeah,
is the connect, it does kind of put like an interesting dynamic between them, because
true.
way, like, he was always in the position to have to eliminate them, or in that power dynamic where it was them that had to be taken out. But now it's in a way like he's putting himself in a position where, one, if she, does anything to kind of disrupt their family dynamic in terms of Maria, like, he's then a target. Or if Maria then inserts herself into something that, maybe she shouldn't have, like, then has to then think about, okay, well, I might now have to eliminate her. And it's not now only her, it's her brother, it's a whole other host of, people and things that I don't
Yeah,
know, Tommy's like really ready to go up against. And so I don't even know if he's truly thinking about what can truly kind of come out of this particular relationship. Because like we see, like, the love interest kind of can like build upon like creating like more drama and like more like consequences for him, like in the aftermath. And I think that she is like representing like the biggest consequence for him, which is his life. Like, you
yeah,
truly and wholeheartedly lose your life, like, doing the things that you're doing. And then, once again, Tommy being a daredevil, not really listening, to common sense sometimes, or just, a voice of reason, is like, okay, well, I risk my life every day. What's different here? And, just truly, I don't think really taking in what really can actually come out of this. And, trying to, again, like, hold on to his little moments of peace, his little moments of joy, the things that he's trying to own, or like hold on to so tightly, like in the midst of, basically a war zone that he's in constantly. But like, who knows if this was truly his moment of peace, or if this is in fact just going to create, more war.
oh, yeah.
But it will be interesting, though, like you said too, to see Maria insert more of her agency,
Mhm.
like within
Yeah,
like her scope and what she can, because once again, she is a crucial part to her brother, like, in terms of his survival. And so,
absolutely.
I wonder what, will truly come out of this, now that she's in a way like trying to break out of her shell, trying to break out of the ownership or the control or the possession of her family, and, where that would leave her, because now she is also now putting herself in a position to be an enemy of her brother, which is, again, like, he also, continues to warn her that's not a position, you want to be in. And, how he was like trying to even explain to her, like, it's cute that you want to have this sort of fairy tale legitimate life, but you're in this family and this is what you do, this is what we all have to do. In a way, this family dynamic owns us, we all have to play our part. And, seeing her try to break free from that, like, what where that would lead her. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what is a prediction for next episode, or even for the rest of the season.
Okay, I have a couple of predictions. So, and this for the audience to know, I don't know much. Okay, so these are all gonna sound really wild. But anyways, I think Vic I don't keep talking about Vic. Obviously, Vic's not my favorite, but for all the Vic stands out there, sorry, but I do think that Vic will go on the side of the feds instead of going on the side of Tommy. Like, I just don't think that he's going to be able to even push down his own pride to work with Tommy personally. Like, I think that because of Vic, Tommy, also CBI are going to be taken down by the feds by the end of this season. And I feel like I'm being really strong, even though I don't know much. But like, I feel like Shanti is also not necessarily going to be she'll be some little part of the cause of them being taken down. But I just think she does not have enough power behind her yet, enough like influence in the game to be able to have some sort of influence into that. But I think because of Tommy being taken down by the feds, she's going to be able to gain some sort of influence from that action, like kind of not even not like not because she caused it, but because it's happening. Like I think she'll be able to come up on that. I definitely think that I don't know, Jenard just does not seem like he's going anywhere good. Like he just isn't able to make the best decisions for himself, even though he really wants it. I
Yeah.
hope he gets what he needs, but I just don't think that he's going to make it. And I also don't think that Mariah's gonna make it. Sorry, Mariah's gonna make it. See, I told you I was gonna talk about Mariah. I don't think Mariah is going to make it because every one of Tommy's I thought Holly being an omen, like it's kind of like the omen of death. Like I was like, okay, like this is just further emphasizing that Tommy's love interest and Mariah is just not going to really go that well. And then I guess last but not least, since I'm going through everybody with Claudia, she's been bouncing back, but I do think she's going to take a hard loss in a sense. I think Vic is going to end up kind of coming clean out of this. We'll see. We'll see by the end. I'm very intrigued, but it's just I think Claudia is not going, even though she keeps bouncing back, I do not think she's going to, not that she's not going to make it, but she's going to definitely I don't know, experience some sort of really hard downfall that might even break her. Like if her father's death wasn't able to break her, which I don't think it was going to, but even coming out of last episode, I do think something else will. I just don't know what that will be, honestly. So those are all my predictions. I have no prediction for Diamond. I'm so sorry, but that's everybody else.
You just hope Diamond just makes it. Just keep it on, Diamond.
Come on, keep on holding down. He was holding down that little. We were talking about that little boxer, Leon. I was like,
Yes,
oh,
I want them to continue on, and then even in that aspect, him confronting his dad,
yes,
him almost, taking on that father figure for that little boy,
continuously.
taking him under his wing. And I even predicted this like a couple recaps ago, like will this boy be the catalyst that can kind of change his mindset of where he does want to continue on, and will this be the moment that changes it all? Unfortunately, on that recap they were like, no, it's not. I don't he's so embedded within this culture and within this environment that you know it would just be hard, even with the influence of this little boy, to really, if he's enough to really change him kind of coming out of that. But I'm still gonna hold on to hope that he just might, because I do love their dynamic. And the little boy is definitely going to need him late, coming up,
Absolutely.
and that's definitely what this episode painted. So I'm interested to see how their dynamic and their relationship grows. I agree, Maria is, you know, definitely, putting herself in a position, one, talking with Tommy, and then two, now putting her, in an awkward position with her family. Now possibly may have to lean on Tommy,
Yeah,
as a sense of
such a strong
protection,
player.
yeah,
Yeah,
or a sense of, security. And once again, I'm not sure if Tommy can really withhold, the whole force of the cartel, and
no,
what could come of that. So Once again, yes, like you said, Holly Berry, The Omen of Death. I'm not really, I don't have high hopes for her future, and that is sad because she's kind of cool. So
Her a lot.
I don't want to
She
say,
knows how to pick up. That's for sure.
yeah,
Okay.
but she's definitely flirting with death right now, in a
Literally.
lot of different avenues.
Literally.
Um, Jenard and Shanti, like, I liked Shanti so much, up until this point in a way, because she was, again, like Diamond, trying to be like a bit of a voice of reason to him, like trying to make him think a little bit more rationally, so that way a lot of those long term or like consequences that he did fall into didn't could have easily been a little bit more circumvented had he listened to her. So to see her kind of I don't know, switch into a little bit of the villain, like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I liked you, Shanti. You always, to me, had a clear head on your shoulders, but I now think, she's kind of seizing an opportunity. And so
Yeah.
these could always been underlying desires, that now that we're actually now privy to, but could have always just been there. But it's like, dang, just like Claudia in a way, like, I don't want, like, your selfish desires, or like your desires that you feel so strongly to like really deter how much you really could gain out of this partnership. Trying to just go for all of it may leave you with none, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. And so I it's like I didn't want to see that for her, but she's once again playing a dangerous game, aligning herself with dangerous players, because it's like I did see the like the previews for the upcoming episode, and she does meet
Yeah.
with Claudia, and it's like, girl,
Yeah.
Claudia got a lot of daggers, or a lot of targets on her
Oh,
right now.
oh yeah.
And so it's just one of those things. It's like, dang, do you understand, like what, like you really are truly doing, even though, it may seem as though these plans and things are going to really, get you those results. It's like, it's very layered, in that aspect. And
Absolutely.
so there's just a lot of things that I don't think she's privy to that, are gonna come out. And I just didn't want to see that for her. But
Me
and then
neither.
I definitely am scared to see how Tommy reacts to the Serbs, because he's not going to take that lightly, and going to he's going to retaliate. So it's like, to match that, Tommy, you just leave me surprised. I don't even want to think about
He's
what
creative. He's
that
gonna
was.
get creative for
Right,
sure.
right, or just leave me out of it. Just let me see it, and then that be that, and then we discuss that next time. Right, I might have to cover my eyes. But yes, I'm excited to see all of what unfolds. But that is going to be a wrap for today for Power Book for Force Season 2, Episode 6. So thank you again, Sid,
Of
for
course.
today and sharing your thoughts. I hope to see some of your predictions come true. And, of course, if they don't, that will just create a whole new conversation for us to talk about. But yes, we hope you enjoyed our discussion, and we definitely want to hear from you. So comment below your thoughts. And then again, please don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, so that way you can be notified for our upcoming episode. But yes, stay tuned for next week, and remember to stay nerdy.
Bye.